Hi, Ms. Rodriguez. I am Jennifer Roselle, and I am a part of the Promise Childcare Center. And as a prospective partner, I was going to let you know the advantages and disadvantages of the different types of businesses that the childcare can take form of. So overall, I believe that the Promise Childcare Center should be a limited liability company. I believe it would be the most beneficial to become a limited liability company because it will give the child care the benefit of less personal liability, which is necessary when caring for many children. This form of business also creates a tax benefit of the pass-through taxation of a partnership, which leads to no double taxation and is beneficial for the owners as to save money to put back into the business, whether the building or with the toys for the kids. A disadvantage of this form of business would be not being able to retain all of the profits as an owner or partner. However, this disadvantage does not outweigh the advantages, since limited liability and a tax benefit are both very valuable to the Child Care Center and its partners. Other options for types of businesses the child care could take form of would be a sole proprietorship, which would be advantageous for the Promise Child Care Center if it was a small business with very few children. However, the Promise Child Care Center has above 50 children enrolled. This would be advantageous because one would be able to run the child care business with less rules and take all the profit themselves. As a sole proprietorship, the child care would also have a tax benefit of not being able to be a legal entity. An extreme disadvantage to a sole proprietorship would be the risk that comes in the form of liability. The sole proprietor will take on the full responsibility for all of the business debt and have even their personal liability included in this. Since there are many children that are being taken care of, the liability may become increasingly high and could overall result in the business shutting down, which would leave many kids without care. A general partnership would bring advantages and disadvantages when in the child care industry. A general partnership would allow the owners to have the tax benefit of no double taxation and be able to run the business similarly to a sole proprietorship, making more of their own rules, but having the disadvantages of having to share the profits and liabilities fully between the partners. With this type of business, the Child Care Center will most likely take on too much risk with liability because the business involves children and their well-being, and the liability of the partners is not limited, so it includes the partners' personal assets as well, which is not good for the business. A limited partnership would also not be the best option for the Promise Child Care Center because while there are limited partners who have limited liability, there's also a general partner who manages the business and takes on unlimited personal liability. The advantage of the child care being a limited partnership would be the general partner being able to manage the business and the business receiving the tax benefit of a partnership, but the liability risk of the general partner would overall outweigh the advantages of this. A corporation would be a possible good choice for the business of the Promise Child Care Center, but it comes with disadvantages. The advantages of a corporation would be that the business can act as an entity and be recognized in law as a person, which creates a barrier between the owners and the liability of the business. But the disadvantage would be the treatment of tax, which is given to the business. Since the child care will be its own entity, the business will be taxed as well as the owners. This disadvantage would be because the children would cause the children to have less money put towards them that they would otherwise have improved the business. These reasons are why I believe that making the Promise Child Care Center a limited liability company would be the best option for the partners involved and for the business itself. This option of business gives the greatest advantage for the childcare industry with the least harmful disadvantages. Thank you so much, and I hope you consider the Promise Child Care Center being a limited liability company.